it's kind of just like a reboot of the first one, and then they just, instead of the 4 friends, it's just Ash and his girlfriend, and then they take the story from there.
And less tree rape. They're neat.
There was less tree rape in this one.
But definitely some tree rape in this one.
There was some, but I think we could all agree, definitely not enough. Maintain those roots. Welcome to A Cast with No Name. We are your hosts. I'm Jay.
And I'm Matt.
This is episode 73. This episode, we recite passages from the Book of the Dead as we discuss the Sam Raimi 1987 horror comedy, Evil Dead 2. But first, don't forget to visit our website, acastwithnoname.com, where you can listen to our entire episode library, comment on episodes, write to our email, and also you can find us on Spotify and Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, we are on YouTube, so you can interact with us there. And as always, thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Hey, we have a guest.
We do. We have a third person completing this menage a trois of speaking.
Unsexiness?
Yes. Just,
Why would you say that?
Just a bunch of middle-aged white guys hanging out in a basement.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead and introduce.
Go ahead.
My name's Chad Cooper.
Welcome.
Yeah,
all right.
Thanks, sorry.
Yeah.
Long-time listener, first-time guest.
That's right. Chad's
excited
one of
to
the
be
few
here.
people that actually like comments and
Yes.
responds to stuff on Instagram. So
He's the only one that's engaged with our content. So if you want to be a guest on the show, engage with our content, and we'll fly you out. Because Coop is from Wisconsin, so he had a first class plane ticket all the way to sunny Miami, where we're based out of. And
I was worth every penny of it.
Yeah, yep. And it's getting cold up there now, so it's definitely worth it.
yeah.
But thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Chad, are you a big movie buff?
I am. Big movie watcher.
Yeah.
I probably don't know as many details as you gentlemen do, but I'm looking forward to getting into it with you here tonight.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
All right.
Well, I made you watch it.
You made me watch it. So we were originally going to do Trick or Treat.
Yep.
And then on my 30th birthday, where I turned 40, you were talking with Puff, who's also been on this show.
Yep.
And he
convinced me.
Yeah. Yep. He convinced you to do.
I said we're going to do Trick or Treat, and he said you shouldn't do that. You should do something else. And then this movie popped in my head, and there you have it.
And there it is.
Yep.
And it was decided.
Yes.
And so we had to push back our entire plans. Actually, not. And we just
Trick or Treat was
it.
a little too much on the nose.
Yeah.
So why not?
Yep. So
well, have you ever seen this?
Yes.
Oh, okay. When's the last time you saw it?
Probably college.
Oh. What about you, Coop?
Probably high school.
So you've seen it before?
Or earlier. I've seen it before, but it's been decades.
Right, yeah. And I don't think the last time I saw this was probably 10 years ago when I lived in New York, upstate New York, with nothing else to do.
Yeah?
Yeah. But I used to watch it all the time as a kid. It was like one of my favorite movies.
Okay.
Yep.
So
I saw it when I was 12.
Okay.
So if that says anything. So 12 I was, what was that, 1997? Around there.
Oh, yeah.
So
okay.
this movie at that time was only 10 years old, so it wasn't like old or anything. So it's like one of those movies where you see it as a young kid and it just, I don't know, stands out
on you.
and imprints on you.
I will say the poster for this, the skull with the eyeballs, that is, when I think of video rental stores.
You think of that?
I think of that because it was so eye-catching, and I mean, it took me, years after the fact to even eventually watch it, but I just remember that visual and thinking that, oh, that must be a scary movie or something. But that always stands out to me whenever I think of video rental stores. I always think of that VHX cover art on there.
I always think of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3.
From the Scots.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it was the poster with the Leatherface, but he has like a mullet or some shit, and he has the whole poster is basically the chainsaw.
Okay.
And it's like amber dingy background lighting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's the first image that comes to my head when I think of video rental stores. It's that, because that movie's terrible. Have you ever seen that movie?
I have not.
It's
I've seen the original one, and I saw the god awful. Was it 3D? Texas Chainsaw 3D.
I think
it was the one with Alexandra Daddario. And
yeah, the newer one.
Yeah, that was horrible.
Sure. That she was they were cousins.
Yeah.
Go get him, cuz.
Fucking.
She said something like that, right?
Yeah, that fucking dog shit of a movie.
Stupid.
God, I'm surprised she had a career afterwards. But titties.
Yeah, it's like Halloween Ends, where Michael's like the mentor.
Yeah,
it's stupid. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Why?
No.
It's something different, I guess.
Yeah. Anyways, but we're here to talk about Evil Dead 2.
That's right.
So
you want to go around the table?
Yeah, let's go around.
First
the table.
impressions. Let's start with Cooper.
2 thumbs up.
You loved it?
Love this movie. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The practical effects for me don't get any better than this movie.
Yeah, they're very good.
Yeah, he texted me yesterday, and he's like, "Did you watch Evil Dead 2 yet?" And I was like, "Well, I've seen it before, but I'll end up watching it tonight." What'd you say? Cinematic masterpiece, I believe.
Absolutely.
That's why I wanted
what
him
he said
to come on.
And I was like,
I stand
all
by
right.
that.
And I had nothing to say to that. He's like, "Oh, I'm watching it now. It's a cinematic masterpiece." And then shortly after that, I started barfing up my lungs and coughing, and I went to bed early. Not because of the comment, but just because illness. But
so, besides the practical effects, anything else?
I like the one scenes where he's like running through the forest or running around the house, and it's just the point of view of the evil spirit, I guess, is chasing him through the house. There's nothing gets cut. There's no other angles. It's just him looking back over his shoulder, panicked, terrified, running through the house, trying to get away from this mystery thing that we as viewers don't even know what it is yet.
Right.
And
that seems pretty
just
awesome.
the evil spirit. Yeah, because I think when he did that through the woods, I think he was on a bicycle or he had a camera strap. Like Sam Raimi had a camera strapped to his head, and he was just kind of like chasing after him to get that shot, similar to how he did it in the first movie too. But
yeah, so. You go next. What do you think?
Oh.
What do you think? What are your?
I liked it better than the first time that I saw it. So I saw the first Evil Dead. I think it was in one of my movie classes. If it wasn't the full movie, it was definitely different shots. So that one I've seen the most, and I I watched the second one and third one right in a row after immediately watching the first one, and it was just out of context for me, to where we finished the first movie, and I was like, okay, watch the second one. And then the second one is like the first 15 minutes was the same movie again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I was like, it's the exact same movie. And then it finally kind of goes off into its own thing. But it spoiled it at the very beginning. I didn't know it was supposed to be a recap. I thought it was just, here it is. And here's the continuation kind of a thing. And which I think he probably could have done a little bit better to make it idiot-proof for viewers like me, to where I didn't realize what he was doing. I know there was a reason behind it now, but anyways, that pushed aside. I liked it better this time around. The reason why I like it, same reason why Coop likes it, I like the practical effects. And it feels like, and it just slowly gets more and more batshit crazy as time goes on. And it's fun. That Raimi humor is still in there. It's not like laugh out loud comedy, but I was getting a lot of, like, I was thinking Drag Me to Hell on half the shots when blood would splatter and like end up in somebody's mouth, and I was just
or anything would end up in anyone's mouth, no matter what it was,
eyeballs, whatever it is. And but for what it was, for him doing what it was, meaning story wise, I think things could have been done slightly better. But overall, I still enjoy the creativity of it that goes into making those movies, and they're fun. Yeah, it's just batshit fun, and you don't see a lot of movies like that anymore.
No, definitely not. Yeah, I agree with you. I think last year when we were talking about our top 5 favorite directors, and Sam Raimi is one of mine. This is probably my favorite Sam Raimi movie. I think it's like his masterpiece, just because I forgot how just over the top and just balls. They just go for it. It's ridiculous, and it made me laugh out loud a bunch of times when Bruce Campbell's going insane, and it's like, and even in the making of the movie, it's like Sam Raimi's making like a Three Stooges comedy. That's his goal at the end of the day. and he has all these like crazy like stupid stooge bits, like the hand that gets possessed flicks him off, gives him the bird.
Yeah.
And then
dragging him across the floor.
Yeah. Or when Bruce Campbell's like losing it and the house is laughing at him, and then he's like trying to go with the house. Like, it's so dumb. It made me laugh. And then it just goes to just absurdity when he puts all the way at the end when he puts the chainsaw on the hand and he says groovy.
Yeah.
That's when they go over they jump the shark, and they're like, all right, we're just, it just amplifies as the movie goes on and on. I don't remember it being, everyone says it's like one of the goriest movies ever made, and like by today's standards it's kind of tame.
Not even close.
Yeah, it's kind of tame.
Yeah, and
like the Evil Dead remake that came out in 2013, that is just insane amount of gore and way gorier than this movie is. It's not even close.
Yeah, I think it's, looking back on it, feeling tame, because there was like video nasties and stuff like that that came out in the 70s that were gore. I mean, the first Evil Dead, a lot of the gore is just like stop motion animation with like claymation and stuff like that, and using that kind of stuff to where I guess at the time possibly looked real, but yeah, being removed from it for 30 plus years and then looking back on it now, it looks cheesy, but I can understand where they thought the gore was from.
Yeah.
It's very much of like an imaginative gore thing, I think. Like at one scene you see a monster's eyeball go flying out into a girl's mouth, but I mean it's clearly is fake.
Yeah,
this isn't really happening. There's nothing that makes you think like this is a real eyeball flying into somebody's mouth.
Yeah.
It's comical. So to say that it's one of the most gory movies, I think, is a bit of an overreach. But
yeah. Well, and I know that this movie got an X rating, and Sam Raimi actually had to like make up a fake distribution company to get around that, so that he didn't have to submit it to the MPAA board. So he submitted it to the MPAA board with the actual distribution company. He creates his own called Rosebud, doesn't do it, and then he distributes the film with like an R rating, but it's not like an actual MPAA R rating. It's kind of funny, the stuff that they thought about back in those times to just get around stuff like that. Because I don't think they would have got the distribution rights, or they wouldn't have distributed it at all if they had the X rating. Because like you said, there was like the video nasty list. No one would want to play it.
Yeah, because I think
it would make zero money.
I think the actual movie studio that funded it was under contract not to do
X rating,
and so that's part of the reason why they added the Rosebud thing at the beginning to kind of work around that.
Yeah. But yeah, once you know how the movie's made, I saw the making of the movie, and you realize like all the camera tricks they did, and I mean it wasn't a very big budget to begin with. It feels bigger than the first Evil Dead because I guess the budget is a little bit bigger, but not by that much. And just all the camera tricks they did and the ingenuity of everything behind it was, once you understand like how the level of like thought that was put into all the shots, you appreciate it a little bit more, and it just looks different. It's fun.
When was the last time you guys saw Evil Dead, the first one?
I actually watched it before Evil Dead 2.
I wanted to do that too because I didn't have time. When was the last time you...
Same. Probably high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, we would watch clips of that in film class because there was a couple of shots he reused, like the camera kind of breaking the glass going through the window pane, which was simple enough as putting a 4x4 underneath the camera, strapping the camera to it, and then pushing but you would zoom the camera lens just enough to where the end of the piece of wood was just out of frame, and then you could just shove it through the window, and it made it look like the camera was breaking the glass. Stuff like that. And even some small stuff as far as, I believe it was first Evil Dead, the camera's up above the rafters, and it's panning, and they add like a whoo, whoo, as the beams are being across the camera. I think it's that movie. I'm doing it based off memory, but little stuff like that.
No, you're right.
And then the just the claymation and the animation, just to be able to get the effects right. Just very creative because the first one felt like it was a student movie, like a student film, with just a little bit more money than than a student film.
It's definitely not as humorous. It's not as slapsticky as this one at all. So it's definitely more horror than horror comedy, which is why I like this one more.
Yeah, it's more in line with what Raimi likes to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into the reasons why I think this movie could have been better.
All right. Yeah.
Tell me. It's just the beginning part of it, and so, and we were talking about this a little bit upstairs. Is the beginning part of this movie, like the first 10, 15 minutes, is kind of like a recap of the first movie. And
yeah, it's almost shot for shot, kind of.
A little bit. So so you get the shot of him driving in the car with his girlfriend, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we got a cabin right up here." And I thought it was just this is a new story. I was like, "Why the fuck is he going to another cabin? Isn't he wasn't he already traumatized from the previous events?" But him and his girlfriend, the other students that were with them in the first movie are not in the shot, and it kind of goes through the rest of the movie. The purpose for that was because Sam Raimi had sold the rights to the first movie to New Line Cinema, I think, and so he couldn't use flashbacks. But the flashbacks, even though he couldn't use those, I feel like if he wanted to compress the story, he could have hired two more actors for those scenes. Just to make it a little bit closer, and they could have just had the voiceover from the doctor or from the professor over the whole thing, and it could have just recapped the whole first movie to bring them up to speed. That's my only gripe about it. All right. Just because I'm an idiot, and it confused me the first time I watched it when I was in college. I was like, this is the exact same movie, and that's why I think it left a sour taste in my mouth the first time I watched it. Is I just thought it was a remake of the first one.
It almost feels like because Ash dies in the first Evil Dead, and they had a tough time trying to explain how is he alive for the sequel.
Second one.
So I think they just solved that by. I know it's a sequel, but it's not. It's kind of just like a reboot of the first one, and then they just instead of the four friends, it's just Ash and his girlfriend, and then they take the story from there. That's
and less tree rape. They're neat.
There was less tree rape in this one,
but definitely some tree rape in this one.
There was some, but I think we could all agree, definitely not enough. Maintain those roots, literally and
there was a lot of trees in this.
A lot of roots.
Yeah. The one scene that I noticed. Where the tree's like starting to uproot itself, and then like the main root like pops up. I'm like, is he trying to like make it look like the tree has an erection?
Yes.
Is that what it was?
I'm sure.
It's like, is that me? Is that where my mind's going right now, or did they actually mean that?
No. Oh, that scene? Yeah, that was just you.
Oh, okay. Well,
no, I'm sure there's probably. I mean, if
it looked phallic, like it was intentional.
Well, that and the scene where when his girlfriend gets up and she like straddles the one tree limb, and the one tree limb looked like she was riding a dick, or it was her dick. It was like a split second when she was dancing out in the field.
I didn't notice it.
Oh, that's the one I noticed. Probably
what, you were
dicks
something
on chicks.
else.
I don't know. I was lying in bed. There was Kleenexes next to me, and it was a weird thing. Anyways, but
yeah,
Amazon has me on a list because I paused it like 15 times there and rewound. But
well, was it scary to you at all?
No.
Yeah.
No, and it was more goofy.
Yeah.
Than
what about
anything.
You, Coop?
Yeah.
Were you scared?
No, not at all.
Not in the slightest. He doesn't get scared.
It was just more entertaining, like watching the effects and, like you said, the camera angles. Like there's a scene in it where Ash is, after he's trying to shoot his disembodied hand through the wall, he puts a hole in the wall with the shotgun, and blood kind of starts coming out, and then it starts spraying him like a Quentin Tarantino film. And I did the same thing that you did with the tree erection. I rewound it 3 or 4 times. I'm like, this isn't spraying out. He's standing underneath something, and the blood is pouring down on him. But it was the way that they tilted the camera to make it look like it was coming laterally instead of from above him.
Right. Yeah. Well, I guess Sam Raimi it has like magician background. I guess when he was a little kid, he wanted to be a magician. So that's where he comes up with all these like these weird like trick shots.
Yeah,
like a magician would.
Comes in handy.
Makes sense.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't even notice that. Yeah.
Yeah, good call, Coop.
Good call.
Yeah. I'll get it down to the minute for you guys so you can go back and rewatch.
But yeah, a lot of that running shots in reverse. That's what I liked about the first one. So what I like about this one is fun camera tricks like that anyone can really do, and but just having fun with it.
Yeah, and the fact that Bruce Campbell just goes all out, like he did most of his own stunts, like that scene where he's going crazy in the kitchen because his hands like finally getting possessed and he's like flipping up, like that's him doing it, and. Like, I don't know if an actor would do that nowadays. Just maybe like Jim Carrey when he was younger, but like they'd get a stunt double in there.
Like breaking the plates over his own head.
Like,
and stuff.
Him, flipping himself. Like it's him doing that. And him running into the stairs and breaking it, that's him doing it. I think the only stunt that he didn't do is when they like throw him in the cellar.
Oh, and, he's like tumbling down the stairs.
He's tumbling. Like, that's not him, but everything else is him. And I mean, I commend him for it because I'm surprised he didn't really take off as an actor. Because he's got that charisma. I mean, he's a successful actor, but not like an A-list movie star.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's got like delivery.
Yeah.
He's
and
charismatic.
Well, that's why they picked him for the first movie, is because out of all their friends, because they would make short films together, and that's why they had Bruce Campbell be the lead, because he was the best looking out of all their friends.
Sure.
and that's literally the reason, because they were all college friends. He's like, well, we made him the lead because, well, he has a square jawline and he's the best looking out of all of us. So he's the only one we feel like women would want to look at.
Right, yeah. Well, makes sense.
But yeah, he never really did take off he's always done his cameos with Raimi movies and everything else. But yeah, he's never.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done stuff outside of Raimi, but it's never. Yeah, he would never.
Starring Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which sounds mean, and I don't mean it this way, but he does have like a B movie look to him. And maybe that's just because he's in Evil Dead.
Could be.
But no, I mean, but yeah, he's really funny. I saw him speak at a Comic-Con in Chicago, and it was like him doing stand-up. Like that, like he's just quick on delivery. He was just fielding questions, and he was just walking around engaging the audience. Like, he's very charismatic, but yeah, it's shocking that he wasn't able to like kind of blow up and move past that point.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised about how unscary it was. I didn't think it was really scary at all. But anything you hear like, oh, it's one of like the best horror movies, like one of the scariest movies of all time. I don't know if it's scary, because I think the comedy just takes over the whole movie at the end of it. I guess I could see it if you're seeing it in like 1987 in the theater with the practical effects and the makeup being kind of like, like out there and frightening, and like seeing it with all the sound effects and stuff. Yeah, maybe it would be a little intense, but like watching it in your living room, it's not really scary.
Especially with no precursor. Like, we've seen all these movies, right? We grew up with all these movies that were way worse than Evil Dead 2. So for us to watch all those movies, be completely desensitized by all of them, and then come back and watch Evil Dead 2 now, it's like, it's laughable.
Yeah. I know. My son did walk in when I was watching it.
Oh, yeah?
He was
what do you think? Did you get his opinion on it?
He was terrified. He was like, Daddy, what is this? I had to pause it because
and that's the
I don't
thing,
have
like,
nightmares.
I think that context has a big thing to do with that. And I mean, without your sense of humor getting to that point of, oh, this is absurd. Yeah. And understanding that it's absurd, because I think mood and atmosphere of a movie have a lot to do with that, because you have The Shining, where you have the elevator doors opening and the blood is just kind of pouring out, and then you have this where the blood is just shooting out of the walls, and same kind of thing, but it's funny in one, and it's mysterious and kind of creepy in the other. And I think the context is important for that, because, yeah, a kid walking in, that would be incredibly scary for a kid to see a lot of this stuff, because they just don't understand that, I guess, the intended humor behind it. And I think probably part of the reason why it was considered one of the scarier movies, I don't know if it scared adults even in 1987.
You don't think so?
I don't know. And it'd be interesting to see someone who watched this for the first time in that time frame when they were an adult, as opposed to being a kid, because the 80s horror films are known as being 80s horror films mainly because we grew up and they came out during that time.
Yeah.
Now, like Nightmare on Elm Street and
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th, those were meant to be scary. To where the first Evil Dead, yes, the remaining Evil Deads, I don't think they were meant to be scary. I think it was just more of comedy and just wackiness. But wackiness is like for more of being unsettling or feeling like kind of creeped out a little bit, but not to the point of being a horror movie. Because I feel like to be a horror movie, it's very tough to have that much comedy in something and to have it still be really scary. Because one, you have to care about the characters, and you really don't. The characters in this are cartoon characters for the most part.
Yeah.
Even Ash, especially Ash, he slowly becomes more and more absurd.
Yeah, like
as a character. Yeah.
Yeah. I was reminded of Pee-wee's Big Adventure, like a lot of the claymation and like the monsters that, like God, what's his name? Hold on.
Tim Burton?
Ed. No, well, Tim Burton, but Ed, the guy who turns into a demon. Like Henrietta's the wife that turns into a demon in the cellar, and then Ed, the guy who comes the blonde guy, turns into that like with all the rows of teeth and stuff. I immediately think of the claymation and Pee-wee's Big Adventure. It just reminds me of that.
What was it? Big Maud or
Marge,
something? Marge, large Marge. Yeah, her eyeballs go shooting out of her head. Yeah,
It looked like a character from that movie. I don't know why I thought of that, but
yeah. Well, when Henrietta turns in, like her neck elongates.
Oh yeah.
And that reminded me straight from Beetlejuice. When when I think it was like the snake. The snake railing comes to life, and it was like the same kind of head.
Yeah. Because Beetlejuice came out the year after this, so maybe he was inspired. I don't know.
That's some quick animation work to.
It's true.
Maybe, but
I don't know.
Maybe
not. But point is, it's not really scary. No. And so if you're like not into scary movies, I mean, this is up your alley. It's not really that scary.
No, it's definitely more camp.
Yeah,
fun.
That's why I like it. I think I'm gonna watch this every Halloween.
Yeah,
it's like a funhouse movie.
Made it into the rotation.
It made it in. I watched Creepshow.
Oh, that's a classic.
I know. Yeah. Last year we did our top 5 Halloween movies, and this movie wasn't in there. It might end up being in there.
Yeah,
I put it in a different realm because it's my favorite Raimi movie. So I don't know. Anyway,
this your favorite Raimi movie? Or yeah. Mine's For Love of the Game. I'm joking.
Oh, the old Kevin Costner slow burn.
No, that's not. I don't know. I'd have to rewatch.
I mean, Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, Spider-Man 2 is definitely either 1 or 2. I like The Quick and the Dead.
It's enjoyable, yes.
Movie,
and I like Drag Me to Hell.
I do too.
Doctor Strange. No.
It's probably my least favorite one.
But I would say, Drag Me to Hell, Spider-Man 2, or Quick and the Dead.
Oz the Great and Powerful?
No.
Is that up there for you?
That was just weird.
Stupid. Such a dumb movie.
But
Disney ruins everything.
Yeah. Well, next year we'll have to do Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
That'd be good. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched that. I watched all 3 of them.
Yeah. I've only seen Army of Darkness once. But I do like, I think the only note I had when I watched this was it did feel like a little Back to the Future. Even though this came out before Back to the Future Part 2, it felt like the whole movie halted at that point. And I just put down when she was like the hero from the sky, and she looks in the Book of the Dead pages that were recovered from an archaeological dig, and they were in color.
It was like a coloring book, yeah.
And
it was a little stupid.
It's like, the hero from the sky and all this thing. I was like, I feel like I'm watching a documentary on Biff Tannen's grandfather, Mad Dog Tannen, in the second movie. And I was like, gee, I wonder what's going to happen in the third movie.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I love the third one because it just goes balls to the wall comedy. It's not even attempting to be scary at all.
Well, the scene that Jay's talking about, that was one of my favorite scenes in the movie also, because it's the picture of Ash with the chainsaw attached to his arm. She said he saves the world from the evil magic, and he goes, well, he didn't do a very good job. And then fast forward the end of the movie, it turns out that that's him.
Yeah, I do appreciate that they had the foresight to add that in there and kind of set it up for a sequel, because I mean the first one was just supposed to be a standalone movie and be done with it. But
well, do you know the background about how this movie got made?
What's that?
So after Evil Dead came out, it didn't do very well in the States, but it did well enough for him to get funding for his next movie called Crime Wave. And as they were doing that, it took off in the international markets. The Evil Dead made a lot of money. And then Crime Wave came out and totally bombed. They said it was just a miserable experience. The studio interfered, and they thought that their careers were over. Like, oh, no one's gonna hire us to direct anymore. And then Dino De Laurentiis called up Scott Spiegel, the writer of Evil Dead 2, and was like, "Do you guys want to do a sequel to the Evil Dead? Because it's killing it in the international markets." And he was like, "Really?" So, like, yeah, just get the same crew, and I'll give you a bigger budget, and just write a script and just do a sequel to Evil Dead. So they wrote the script, and what Sam Raimi wanted to do was Army of Darkness. So he wanted to set the movie up in 1400 AD and make that movie, and Dino was like, no, it's going to be in a cabin, and it's going to be pretty much the same movie. I just want you to amp it up a little bit. So that's what they.
Yeah, I'm not going to give you a multi-million-dollar, like deca-millionaire budget on this one. It's going to be a different one.
Yes, exactly. So anyway, Italy, man, they love their horror movies.
Yeah,
over
I guess
there.
so.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they do love their horror movies.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the Italians, Evil Dead 2 would never have been made. Sam Raimi wouldn't be here. We wouldn't get Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Wouldn't have gotten Spider-Man 2.
Grazie. Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, I recommend it.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. My wife wouldn't like it. She didn't really like it. So, I don't know if you're into like campy horror comedy stuff, this is like the best one ever made. If that's your thing. If not, you're not going to like it, but I like it, so I recommend it.
I think it's funny. I mean, it does kind of have the horror movie elements to it, but it's definitely a comedy. It's an easy watch. I think it's like 90, 85 minutes, something like that. So if you've got time to kill and want to see something funny, I'd say go for it.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, it's not like a laugh out loud comedy. It's just more of a that's ridiculous. Kind of a thing. Yeah. And it's very, very subtle. Like, I mean, the comedy ranges from subtle to over the top ridiculousness, and just the absurdity of it is what's funny about it, not necessarily like quick lines or funny dialogue or anything like that. It's just the thing that's happening is just ridiculous. But I agree. It's if you enjoy that kind of a thing, if you liked Drag Me to Hell and you wanted to see something similar but not as, I guess, refined, but more of a homemade quality, definitely. I mean, it is fun, and it is a quick watch. You don't have to spend 3.5 hours watching something.
It's not the kind of comedy where they explain the joke like over and over again and observe how that's supposed to be a funny joke.
Yeah.
And then they talk about it for 5 minutes.
Get it? Yeah. Like somebody's nudging you to laugh at this.
Yep. Yeah. That's the result of not scripting your movie well enough.
Right.
Paul Feig.
Paul Feig, Seth Rogen.
Judd Apatow. Seth Rogen.
Yeah. Did I tell you about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie? Did I talk about this?
No, talk about it.
Well, I watched it with my kids because they wanted to watch it, and it's that. So Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg wrote it, and that's the humor in it. It's someone says something like kind of offbeat, and then another character comments on the offbeat comment,
just to keep
and
the bit.
Climbs on that offbeat comment. And I'm like, what are we doing? This isn't comedy. This is just observing that someone said something off kilter, and then we're going to talk about it for 5 minutes
because
and that's comedy.
Yeah,
it's so dumb.
Well, we did talk. Well, you know what started that?
Yes, hold on, give me a second. You mentioned this last time. Shit.
The thing that started that kind of comedy is Rookie of the Year.
Yes, fuck. That's right.
And
you told me that.
It all started going downhill from then, and that was the spark. So if you hate that kind of comedy, to where something funny happens and then someone says, did you just say blah, blah, blah? Or did you really just pull a rabbit out of your hat? Or whatever. The repeating, it came from Rookie of the Year.
Really?
Yeah, because when the main kid is getting his cast off, his arm, and he's like, okay, now slowly rotate your arm down. And Henry Rumgardner, when he moves his hand down, and he slaps the doctor's nose, and the doctor says, oh, funky butt lovin'. And then it cuts to the two kids, George and whoever else. They're like, did he just say funky butt lovin'? That was it.
So that's who we have to thank for this
That's
bit
what started
now.
it. It's what started it. Daniel Stern.
Yep.
He directed that movie.
He did.
It's
Didn't write
his
it,
fault.
though.
He didn't write it, but he left it on the cutting
He
of the
did.
finished product, so it's his fault. Write him letters. He's at Daniel Stern, and his Insta is...
Is he still alive?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I'm sure he's still alive.
We're just losing we're losing icons left and
Yeah.
right nowadays. So
Well, we're at that age.
yeah.
Although some are a lot more younger than others, but
So you recommend it?
I do.
That's three recommendations
Yes.
for a 36-year-old movie. That's right.
Yeah.
We're at the cutting edge here.
It's if you don't like horror, you might like this, just because of the,
You might.
the, the absurdity.
You
of
might,
it.
yeah, for sure.
And it does. It's not like Scary Movie parodying of the absurdity. It's just
No.
kind of
It's definitely its own genre.
fun absurdity.
Yeah.
So, all right.
What are we gonna talk about next time, Jay?
Well, Coop, how do you feel about James Bond movies?
Like,
You like them?
yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
Who doesn't?
Apparently, there are some people who don't.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know who they are, but
But they're out there.
I'm
Yeah.
sure they're out there. So what we're going to start doing every November?
Sure. I mean, there's plenty of them, right?
Yeah. James Bond.
There's a
month.
couple.
We could do this for like
At
the
least
next
2.
6 years.
Yeah. So there's 25 James Bond movies. And so every November, we'll just do James Bond month.
Yeah.
So every week, if you're a James Bond fan, then listen in November. If not, it's going to be a very slow month for you as we talk about James Bond movies.
Well, you want us to talk about the Marvels? No, watching that. Come on.
So November will be our first James Bond month. We're going to kick things off with the first one, Dr. No.
Yep.
And
And then we're going to do the first one of each.
Yeah.
All right,
We'll do that. We'll do one of Sean Connery. We'll do one of Roger Moore. One of, maybe we'll do George Lazenby's this
Let's
month.
do it because I've never seen it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, hold on. We got Sean Connery, Roger Moore, George Lazenby, Timothy Dalton, Pierce Bronson, and Daniel Craig. So 6. That'll work out. We'll do, someone's going to get left out. We'll probably leave out Pierce Bronson.
That's fine.
Or not Pierce Bronson.
Timothy Dalton?
Timothy Dalton.
Okay.
He only has 2, so that way he can be in next year's and the
Sure.
year after that.
All right.
But we'll do one for each of the weeks of November, and starting off with Dr. No.
Coop, do you want to watch Dr. No?
Absolutely.
Have you
All right.
seen it before?
No.
Ooh. What Bond movies have you seen?
No idea. There's too many for me to keep track of.
Well, you've
Name
seen
them all
Gold.
right
I mean,
now.
I've seen GoldenEye. Yeah, I've seen Skyfall. I've seen all the
Casino Royale.
the
The newer
I've seen
ones.
all the newer ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Cool.
right.
All right. Well, next week, Dr. No.
Till next time, Jay.
Till next time, Matt.